Hey loves, it's Anam and welcome back for the final video for all things love with having people on my channel in February. It's been so fun, and today's topic we're going to be talking about dating from a guy's perspective and a girl's perspective. So it's going to be really exciting, but before I get into asking Ashley and Skylar the questions, if this is your first time on my channel, welcome. I post videos up every single Friday about life, beauty, organizing, and people that I do life with. So if you want to, hit that subscribe button down below and join me. Okay, so Ash and Skylar, I want to ask you one question before we get into the questions that I have for you. What is the best dating advice you can give to anyone who is dating or in a relationship?
Oh gosh, do you want to go first?
Yeah, you go, baby.
Well, first off, we're not dating experts. We've been happily married for
almost 8 years.
Almost 8 years, so we've been a little bit out of the game. But I think that my best advice would just, and it probably sounds really like cliche, but to be yourself, like to be confident, to own what you want, and to not be ashamed of it, and to just, I mean, they're gonna figure out who you are anyway, so you might as well lead with that.
Start early.
Yeah, so I'd say that.
Yeah, you know, I would think as much as being yourself, I think, and we'll touch on this probably in some of what we talked about, but really bringing your whole self to that dating relationship. And if you're in a part of your life or something where you don't feel whole, or you feel like I'm looking for someone to complete me, that's probably not the best stage to be in. So really just getting with the Lord, getting with mentors, and figuring out, like, how do I come with my whole self?
Okay, so we're going to get straight into the first question that I have for Ashley and Skylar. So what is your take on dating? Is it necessary?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, dating's necessary in the fact that, you know, you're going to spend the rest of your life with that person if, you know, when the intention of dating is to be married, and, you know, you need to have that time to figure out, you know, who that person is, how do they stand on the big rock issues, you know, faith and family and interests and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's huge.
And I just think it's fun.
Yeah,
like oh, you guys, this is real life. Like, this is not a blooper. This is life. This is Benjamin, our little man.
Benjamin, you want to say hi?
Ben, can you wave? Say hi. Hi. Keep little kisses.
So cute.
Oh, no kissies. He's our potty trainer, so I'm gonna go take care of mom business. I'll be right back. So sorry. I'm so sorry about the potty training. I think dating, I think it's amazing. I think it's fun. I think it's such a great opportunity to really kind of get to know the other person, to figure out too, like, what are those things that you're looking for? Because, you know, sometimes, like, you might go on a date with someone and, like, maybe they have that spark, that X factor, but, like, man, like, the way they kind of handle their finances, or, like, gosh, like, they're kind of rude to the waiter. Like, those things might seem small, but they actually add up. Like, attraction might be what, like, kind of gets your initial interest, but character is what's going to sustain you. And so my dating advice would be to look for the red flags, to, like, be bold in conversation about those. Right off the bat. Because conflict isn't bad.
No.
It's not. Like, conflict, like, breeds intimacy and trust. Like, I'd so much rather know up front what I'm getting myself into than, like, be surprised later. And I think too, like, in marriage, those things, like, you see up front, in marriage is only going to deepen and mature. So, like, if something's, like, a red flag for you then, or, like, man, like, someone's, you know, you're not looking for a perfect spouse, but you want somebody who's growing in the same direction with the same goals, who's like-minded, who is teachable, who has a growth mindset. You know,
if someone's okay with acting a certain way, or is very, you know, firm in a belief in a certain way when you're dating, that is only going to be astronomical and amplified when you get married.
So I just think being, like, and it's okay to break up. Like, it's
not the end of the world.
Like, when you're married, like this man is my standard of everything. Like, he's my standard of generosity. Like, you know, like, I find him so attractive. Like, you know, all those different things. But, like, when you're dating, gosh, if something's not going great, and if you guys can't address that and, like, move forward in dating, like, break up. Like,
solid advice right there.
And move on.
Like, the grass is greener where you water it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Oh, that's so good. Okay, so on to my second question. When it comes to dating and asking someone out, do you think the girl or the guy should make the first move?
I love this question.
Oh, gosh.
And the reason why I love this question
I'm, like, curious, why does he love this question?
Well,
what insight does he have?
The reason I love this question is because I feel like you know, there's always been kind of that stigma, or it's kind of the standard of, you know, the guy always asks the girl out. Yeah. But, you know, I have a couple, you know, really close buddies who I know would love for a girl to approach them. Really? Right? And I would have loved that too. And actually, how Ashleigh and I, our first date, even though we didn't ask, it wasn't asking each other out. Yeah.
His dad set us up.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I had taken a year off from school at SPU. He was in school at Point Loma his senior year. Mm-hmm. And his dad became one of my favorite customers at Starbucks. And I guess on the back end, his dad was telling him about me. And so he came to town, we went to lunch. Yeah. And it was like the most amazing lunch. Like, I've never felt like more like the conversation, like just everything.
Just right off the bat.
Yeah, but he got nervous. Can I share this? He got nervous when the check came. And she was like, this is separate, right? And he, like, the way she phrased it, like, he panicked and he goes, yeah. And I, like, it had nothing to do with money, like, at all. I was looking for an indication, like, is he just being sweet for his dad? Or, like, is he actually really interested? And so that came, I'm like, oh, okay, like, this is just, like, he's being sweet, you know? And I remember going home and telling my dad about, like, how much fun we were having. And my dad, and I was like, I don't know if he's into me. And my dad was like, yeah, did he check you out? And I was like, no. Like, he was such a gentleman. Like, no. Oh and he was like, yeah. And he's like, did he pay for the check? And I was like, no. And he don't know. And my dad's like, yeah. And this is at the time that movie, like, He's Just Not That Into You came out. Yeah. Oh, and, like, I had actually watched it with my parents recently. And he goes, did he ask to see you again? And I was like, no.
3 strikes.
And my dad's like, Ash, he's not into you. Like, he is just not into you. And I'm like, but I had the best time.
Oh my God.
But the best part of it is that I had always had to pursue the girls in my life. Whether like dating them or even like once we were dating, like that follow on. And so she, you know, I didn't pursue her after that, like that night. And she was just like,
like we're talking like 6 hours. Yeah. Like we're not talking days.
But Ashley was like, you know, forget it. Like I'm going to be myself and I'm going to reach out to him and say,
I actually was chatting with like my manager at Starbucks at the time. And I'm like, I had the best time, And she gave me the best advice. She's like, Ashley, you get out of your head. She's like, you have this box that you think like dating needs to fall into. Like, go on a great date, you wait for him to text, like, then you respond, like you wait a couple days.
Like what society has said.
Yes, like the rules. And she was like, throw it out the window. It's not who you are. She's like, you're the girl that like, you go out to lunch with someone, like guy or girl, and you're like, I had the best time. Like, she's like, so be you. Like, he's going to figure out who you are anyways, so just be you. So that's why, even though my dad was adamant, like he is not into you. Like
I was into it.
But I just was me, like fully me, and I was like, I had the best time, like probably sort of amazing, like something. And that's all he needed, and like he just pursued and led, and like it was just.
And 4 days later, I knew I wanted to marry her.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
We're gonna get into their story in just a little bit. So good, but you don't think it's like too forward for a girl to like?
No. Really? No, I mean I love like I'm a woman, so like I do love the romantic idea of like, you know, the guy just sweeping you off your feet. Like confidence is sexy.
I'm so old fashioned.
Yeah, like it is sexy. Yeah. Like every woman wants to be pursued. Like, and if she says she doesn't, she's lying to herself.
You're in denial.
But but at the same time, like I think up front, like in the day we live in, like sometimes you just need that. Like I feel like a lot of girls date guys not because it's the right guy, but because he's the guy that asked. And so I'd rather be with the right guy, and if that takes me like taking that first step of like, you know, hey, would you want to have dinner or coffee sometime? Like we don't have to be awkward. I think that's amazing, but I think it's not so much who initially asks. I think it's who pursues from there. Because like in marriage and in life, like my job is to be an expert in my husband. Like I want to love him well. Like I want to be a student of him. And so like I think that starts in a dating relationship. If that's not happening in dating, that's surely not going to happen in marriage.
When is it ever going to start?
Okay,
so I love your guys' answer to that. So leading into the third question, do you think physical attraction plays a role in dating someone?
Yeah, no, I think it really does. But I think I don't know where that question probably comes from, but I can see, because I got coworkers and he went to school with some people who had kind of arranged marriages or come from a culture where that's the case. But I think where in the culture we live in today, I think it's pretty prevalent. And probably too prevalent sometimes. I think people
Are you talking about like the emphasis of attraction?
Yeah, the emphasis of attraction. I think people choose that rather than choosing, you know, character. Because as Ashleigh mentioned earlier, character is going to win out all day long.
Yeah.
But physical attractiveness obviously plays a role. I mean, this girl is so sexy. And,
I mean, I've heard from someone, go for Steady Eddie, do not go for Sexy Steve. Like, guys, come on. Oh, I love that.
Wait, I think I have some things to say on that too. So I think initially, like that, like you have to have that spark, that X factor, like, and that comes from like somebody like getting your attention. But do you need to be the sexiest guy in the room? No. And I just like, I'm gonna go back to the character.
Yeah.
I want to be with the guy who has integrity. Yeah. Like the guy who, like, I can trust him. Like Skylar, whatever he does, like business, life, like church, kids, like friendships, like I trust him so wholeheartedly. Yeah. Like I could almost like I could anticipate like what he'd say or what he'd do, and I think that's such a gift. And I think over time, those are the things that kind of become sexy. Yeah, it's like, you know, in the beginning, like, sure, that initial attraction, that, like, oh my goodness, like, even just, I remember, like, the first couple dates, like, when he just, like, grazed against me, like, just his arm, I'm like, ah, the butterflies. But I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. Like, but man, like, in life, in marriage, and, like, it's seeing who he is as a dad. Yeah. And that starts, like, watching, like, how whoever it is, like, is as an uncle, or, like, how he interacts with friends' kids. Like, if he shows no interest, like, if he's disengaged, if he's on his phone, like, if he's checked out, like, that's probably a snapshot of what he'll be like in, you know.
In marriage.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
And parenting. So, like, for me, when I'm thinking of, like, decisions, I remember even just dating, I'm thinking, like, long term. Yeah. Like, what's this going to look like, you know, 5 years, 10 years, like.
Down the road. And
having really honest conversations. Like, hey, you know, I've seen this model before. Like, that's not, like, I'm not really into that. Yeah. You know, like, even just, like, parenting, not parenting roles, but, like, household roles. Yeah. Like, Skylar and I, like, our home is usually kept pretty beautiful. But that's not all on me. Mm-hmm. Like, Skylar, I swear, does just as much, if not more. And it's not like a sign, like, you can catch him doing the laundry, you can catch me doing the laundry, like, dishes, like, and it's that type of rhythm that's sexy.
Takes two to
so,
tango.
like, well, well, and that's the stuff that becomes more sexy than, like, you can always change a haircut. Like, you can always, like, you should have seen his style.
Oh,
like,
when,
so you know, like, we have enhanced this. But, like, that stuff's, like, the easy stuff to change. It's the heart stuff. It's, like, the posture. It's, does he love Jesus? Like, does he not just, like, oh, yeah, I'm a Christian, but, like, does he actually, like, is there fruit in his life? Like,
does he actually live it out?
Is he generous? Like, those are the things, like, you know, I think that become much more important than that initial, like, is he hot?
So character over attraction.
Yeah.
To a degree with attraction.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Oh my gosh, that's a good one.
I like looking at his body every day. So you gotta have that too.
I love that so much. Okay, so the fourth question I am going to ask is, how many dates should you go on before you take your relationship to the girlfriend-boyfriend stage?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Yeah,
or does it depend?
You know, I think putting the emphasis on the boyfriend-girlfriend stage is probably the wrong way to look at it. And I would say that if you're depending on what season of life you're in, but if you're in the season where you're dating because you're looking for, like, a spouse rather than, like, high school or maybe even just initial years of college, I think you don't put that girlfriend boyfriend status on it. I think you date, and I mean, we're not the. What do you mean?
I'm gonna just trump whatever he says right here. Oh my god! Like, I think by not doing it, like, what do you like? I think it's important to have a title. That for me gives me security. It gives me comfort. Like, it takes out questions. Yeah. Especially in, like, the swipe right, like friends with benefits, like, you know, that type of, like, season we're in. Yeah. I think him and I think what he's trying to say is more geared towards, like, marriage. Like, you know, like, for us, like, by a couple dates, like, we knew, it was before a title was established, like, we knew, like, I want to marry this man. Like, I felt like I would be lucky to marry this man. Like, he surpassed those things, like, that I'd really dreamed about, like, in a spouse. Like, even just from dating. Wow. Like, those couple dates, and just his attentiveness, like, the thoughtfulness, like, the way he pursued me. His heart for Jesus, those things mattered so much. And so for us, like, we knew within 2 months, like, we wanted to get married. We were engaged 6 months later.
Wow.
And so and I know that's uncommon. Like, before that, I'd been in a 5-year relationship. And I thought, oh, you've got to date, 2 years, go through the holidays twice, like, really know what you're getting yourself into.
Twice.
Well, hey, like, sometimes you want to know, like, what are you really getting yourself into?
Gosh, that's so true.
But when you find that right person, you're in the right season, you're looking for a spouse, I think you know. And I actually think the caution falls on the other side of waiting too long. I think so many people feel like, kind of have that notion that I had going into it, of like, you need to be with someone for a certain amount of time. And really, you're going to know. Every relationship's going to be different. But, yeah. So do you want to say anything?
She answered it very well.
I know. I feel like, I've never dated
you had a different question
before, but I feel like when it comes to like the girlfriend-boyfriend stage, I totally agree with you, Ashleigh. Like, it's like a sense of security, because it's like you don't know that he's not playing games with you. Like, it's not.
And when a guy loves you, like, when he's interested, like, he wants to call you his girlfriend. He's proud to show you off. Like, he's pursuing you. Like, he's telling his friends how amazing you are. Like,
Yeah, I guess that's more where I was going with and coming from is it's gonna be very obvious. Like, he's gonna either call you that, or he's going to like ask you, like, I want to call you my girlfriend, or like, so I think from the guy, when you have a secure guy, in the relationship, like, that's gonna be really obvious. But I don't think the emphasis on it,
like a certain amount of dates beforehand.
Right.
I think you're just gonna know. I think you're gonna know, and I think you're both gonna be excited. Or at least you should.
Yeah, I think you should. I hope I am once that happens.
You will be.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so next question I'm gonna ask is, how long should people date before they get married?
Oh, we kind of just covered that a little bit. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, well, I actually have probably, I think we both are kind of a similar boat, but I think it's less than what most people would say.
Really?
And I think if you're coming in, as I mentioned earlier, if you're coming into the relationship as a whole person, and you're dating someone that's a whole person, and you have your eyes, both on the Lord, like, it doesn't take long. Like, know. And once you make that decision that you really want to date, and for the reasons you want to date, like, And so I think when people extend that to a certain period, I think it gets uncomfortable. And I think it gets to a point where people get okay with, well, we're just dating, so why do we even need to go to that next stage? And I think that's when you fall into the pitfalls of either choosing sex before marriage or moving into with each other. And not that those things can't be redeemed, but they're not the way that God intended for us. And it's so easier to fall into those things when you choose to date for years on end. Now, there's seasons, right? We mentored a group that, a couple that, they dated for 4 years, but they were in college, separated from each other. Big difference. But if you're in the same season of life, you're in the same area, like, you don't need that much time. That's really just brings danger.
I think as you get older too, that time lessens. I think that you know what you're looking for. And, like, you have your stuff in order. And I think that's a big thing, that I think even if you're waiting to find that someone, like, you can always work on you. And you can always, like, work on having, like, just like you'd love for them to have their life in order, or, like, doing that same. And building a life that you're passionate about. Like, rather than waiting for that significant other to come into your life, and then, like, but, like, enjoying the present.
I love that. I know, as I get older, I'm like, you know what? My end game when it comes to, like, dating or whatnot is marriage. Like, I am not playing any games, and
you don't want to be somebody who is. No, like, that's why I think it's so important to, like, put your cards out on the table.
Like, I love that perspective on it.
So I think you're having those conversations, like, you said, you're like, I know what I want. Like,
I love it. Straight to it, guys. That is solid advice. Okay, next question. When should the topic of boundaries be brought up when you're dating? And I mean, from what I've seen in other couples that I know, it would be, like, very early on. That's my perspective.
Can you touch on what you mean by boundaries?
Let's do the
like
hot
sex?
topic, like, sex or intimacy, and whatever that holds, or if the girl has a certain, standard, and then the guy has a certain standard. When should you talk about that?
I mean, I think it needs to come very early, and I think that also depends on what stage of life you're in too. I think there's difference in high school, early college, but I think when you're at that stage where you're thinking about that's what you want to do, I think it has to come super early.
And I think it's exciting too. Like, that's not awkward to talk about. I think sometimes we feel like, oh gosh, I don't want to bring that up, or like, you know, I don't know what they're going to think of me, or, you know, like those things.
But the thing is, I think the thing for everybody, and Ashley and I, we've talked about this quite a bit, but the thing when you're dating, for kind of all these questions is, like, don't be afraid to just be yourself, because eventually you're gonna come out. Eventually gonna come out. Eventually you're gonna be yourself, and so you might as well be upfront about it. Like, you don't need to be like upfront crazy.
No,
right? You know,
like stay away from crazy, but
you know, but like, you know, you don't have to open yourself up like you know, to everything right away. But having those conversations, because that is. Sex is like the most amazing thing, right? And it is God's gift in marriage, but it can ruin good relationships before they ever get the chance to blossom. Wow. And though not setting those boundaries in dating, right? Like, even if let's say you date someone and you have, you know, sex with them or whatever, and then you break up, right? That isn't just going to affect you two, it's going to affect your future spouse, right? And God redeems those, and he does, and he is faithful and just, but there's also consequences for our actions, right? And so you just, you know, those are tough.
And then the other thing I would say is, I think it's a great, like, kind of just flexing that, like, muscle of self-control, because there will be seasons, like in marriage, like whether it's illness or whether it's like, you know, post baby or things like that, where like you're not having intimacy at the same frequency, you know, that you typically would. And like, there's sure a lot of other things you can do and all that type of stuff, and everyone's different, but I think it's amazing to be with a spouse who's flexed that muscle of willpower, who's shown you, like, I love you, like, this is just an addition, it's not the main thing, like, it's a gift, but like, whether or not, like, this does not influence how I treat you, how I love you, like, it doesn't influence like my mood. It's only an addition. And it's like, that's a gift that, like, he has always spoken over me of, like, babe, like, sex is phenomenal. Like, it is the greatest thing ever. But at the same time, like, if we never had that again, like, I would love you still more than anything. Wow. And so I think that's a gift that, like, you know, comes.
That is so good.
So,
woo! I am learning so much from these questions, guys. Okay, we're on our last questions before Ash and Skylar share a little bit of their story on how they met. Okay, so the last question we're gonna ask Ash and Skylar is, what are your thoughts about dating a non-believer? Would it ever work out, or is it okay?
I think you can date who you want, but I think if you're really trying to date with intentionality, and if, you know, like, I assume most people we're talking to right now are believers, like, if you are a believer and you're trying to date for marriage, I wouldn't even flirt with it, because I think the Bible is clear, like, you want to be equally yoked, like, you want somebody, and you see it in life, like, that'd be a really hard thing to date someone who had very different views on like religion. You'd have a divided home. And so for me, like, I wouldn't even want to play with fire. Because what if you do fall in love with different aspects of this person, and, you know, and it's so easy to fantasize with the belief of, like, oh, they'll change in marriage, or oh, you know, like, they'll see. But if that's not something in them beforehand, like, I'd have a hard time believing that that's God's best for you. And so I'm not saying that person's bad by any means, but I'm just saying, if you're a believer and you're trying to date someone who's also like, I just wouldn't even play with fire. So
I would second that. I would add to it that, you know, marriage is amazing, and dating is so much fun and all that. But if it wasn't for our mutual, you know, faith in the Lord and Him guiding our life, things would be a lot harder. And that adds so much more joy and so much more. I mean, like, our fights end very quickly because probably 95% of the time, one of us, before it gets to a point, is like, you know what, let's pray about this. Let's talk about to the Lord about this. And if you don't have that, like, I could see things being really hard.
I think it'd feel like you were just kind of going upstream, you know. So it's not like, you know, we know some amazing couples and people, like, who they are married to somebody who's not a believer. And I think, you know, sometimes, like, when you both get married, neither one of you were, and one accepts the Lord. I think that's amazing. Like, I pray that at some point both of you would be, you know, like-minded in that, and have that hope of eternity. But I think if you're initially going into it and you're like, I'd probably pause.
I would definitely pause. I love that, guys. Okay, so we're gonna end on a lighthearted note. Ashley and Skylar are gonna tell us how they met, just in a little short snippet. So
I think we touched on that a little bit earlier.
You guys did touch on that.
But I'll go for this one and tell. But so my Ashleigh was working at Starbucks in downtown Edmonds, and my dad at that time was taking a little time off of work, and so he was down at Starbucks every day, and so I got to know Ashleigh really well. And
he was one of my favorites. Like I grew up with brothers. Like if we're teasing and joking, I'm like, okay,
you could
like
tell,
I love you.
So he, you know, the summer before my senior year, introduced me to Ashleigh, and was like, hey, you gotta meet her. And so Ashleigh didn't know that's why he was introducing me.
And the irony is I loved and enjoyed his dad because I was like newly single. And everyone was trying to set me up with someone like this, you know, because the Starbucks I worked at is in downtown Edmonds. I was the morning shift. It was like Cheers, like the same sweet people. Like, so you got like these little grandmas, like you have like everyone and their mom trying to set you up with someone.
Every day of my life.
And and so I found his dad so refreshing. Because, you know, I'd come out of this 5-year relationship. And I'd spent like the first 6 months really processing, because, you know, I'd really loved the guy, really processing like, hey, what was great about that relationship? Like what, you know, what was specific to that? What am I looking going forward? Just da-da-da-da. The next 6 months, I'd kind of gone on a couple random dates. All great guys, just not the guy for me. And so I found his dad so refreshing because he wasn't trying to set me up. Turns out on the back end.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
And, you know, and I was like, she's awesome, but, you know, but I'm going to school in California, like, I just, you know, whatever. Well, eventually I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I really like this girl. You know, just from like seeing her, she's super hot, like, seems like an amazing girl, loves the Lord. And so I went one night, it was the Taste of Edmonds. And so my buddy and I were up top at Rory's, and we were looking down, and I was like, all right, Eric, I'm gonna go ask her out. And so I like got the courage up, and all of a sudden I see this like 6'5", like, good looking, big dude.
It was my brother.
Come put his arm around, but they look nothing alike. He's like darker skin.
Okay, so you were saying my brother.
Yes, so her brother.
He didn't know.
Didn't know. They look nothing alike.
First up, so like I look like my mom, like Dutch, like fair skin, blonde hair. My older brother looks like my biological dad. Like olive skin, dark hair, like we don't look related. We are, but we don't. And my younger brother's like a cross, like he's got the olive skin, but like more the light hair. But so anyways, and I grew up in an affectionate family. So I was probably like standing like with my like arm like.
Oh no, they were dating in my mind.
That sounds so bad, but like.
No,
So, but I'd never been on Ashleigh's radar as like someone to date. She kind of thought I was just like the friend guy, because I'd always come into Starbucks with like. People that she knew from growing up too,
and people I highly like admired. That's really what kind of put him on my radar. Is I saw him having coffee with, you know, some girls I'd played soccer with like a long time ago, and really respected. So like knowing his dad, like really enjoying that relationship, like obviously like just the way he presents himself and just who he is, but also kind of seeing the people he surrounded himself with. That was attractive. So like, okay, there's caliber. But back to movies. You know the movie Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds?
Yes.
I was like, okay, he's with these amazing girls. A couple of them are single. Like, he must be the friend guy.
Oh, and I was the friend guy. She was right. She was right.
I'm like, he's the friend zone.
Gosh. You're like, no.
Luckily, God sent a woman into my life my senior year at college, and we dated for about 3 months, and it put me on Ashleigh's radar. It's like, oh wow. Like,
the funny thing is, he would joke like, I don't even know like what the purpose was, and ever like kind of what God's plan was with that. But I told him, I was like, she actually put you on my radar, because you know she'd also nannied, I'd nannied, and like I would see pictures of him like with just like really engaged, like interacting with these kids, and I'm like, wow, like he seems just like this amazing guy. He's clearly not the friend zone. Like,
you're like, okay,
you know, he's just
if you're watching this out there, thank you, Kim.
You won't always be in the friend zone.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And then, so I made up a story, long story short, I made up a story about like, I was doing a project on Starbucks.
As you were walking towards
No, this was like back in the days of Facebook, like before Instagram, like before all the cool things.
This was 8 months later, and I was like, hey, you know, I'm doing a project on Starbucks, like, we should chat. And
she was just looking for anything to like make a connection.
And so I came home to surprise my dad, and that's when we had that first date that we talked about. And then we went on 2 more dates, and then we went to church on Sunday, and I won't go into the whole story, but I dropped her off. Like, I knew like the whole ride back. I was like,
we just had the most amazing, like, not only did we go to church and like it was incredible, but like we went to coffee, and without even realizing, like, we'd been at coffee for like 3 hours. like just laughing and chatting. It was like the most effortless, like.
But I had to fly home that night back to school, and I was like, I gotta tell her how I feel. I gotta tell her. Well, I drop her off, and I don't tell her.
Never setting the whole way. And I'm like hoping, you know, like I said, how women like to be pursued.
Right? Yeah. And so this is just how God works. So I'm driving back down her alleyway, and I'm like, no audible voice, but the Lord was like, you have to call her. Like, if you don't do it now, this is over.
Well, no, so he dropped me off. He dropped me off at home, like, and he was like, had a great day. He never said anything about the future.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, like we had this incredible, but maybe I thought it was different than it was, like. And if you know me, you know, like, I'm hit or miss with my phone. I either have it on me, or like it is so far away. It's
to
not
the point
like
where it had fallen from her purse and was still
so once
in
again,
my car.
I go in the house and I'm telling, like, you know, because this was, I think he dropped me off at my parents' place, like, even though I was at SPU. And anyways, I'm back inside telling my dad about the day, and once again my dad's like, did he ask to see you again?
My heart is pounding right now.
I'm like, I'm having this conversation. And also too, so my parents' home, they were doing this massive huge remodel. So like they were living in the mother-in-law downstairs, so they did the remodel, and my younger brother's room was the only one left untouched upstairs. So when Skylar goes back,
well, I first called her because I got to call her and have her come back out. I'm like, I can hear her phone. It's in the car. I'm like, thank you, Jesus.
No clue. Still telling Dad.
So I drive back. I walk in. Long story short, she comes out, right? And I'm like, hey, your phone was in the car. I just wanted to tell you I really had a great time. And then I turn around, like I gave her a hug. And I turn around and I go back to my car. I'm like, you're an idiot, Skylar. And so I turn around. I'm like, I really like you, and I would really like to like pursue this, and then she kissed me, which was pursuit.
I mean, come on.
Oh my God.
But it was so attractive. Like, even though he was nervous, I think that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, like being you.
Yeah.
Like, I loved, he was like, I really like it. Like, it was not like this scripted, like, oh, okay, I need to say this or that. He was just him. Yeah. And I couldn't believe, because I'm not the girl who would just like kiss someone on impulse, but I did.
It was great. And so then but the cool thing is I went back to school, so we had about 6 weeks where we could only talk on the phone. Yeah. So we fell in love with each other over the phone.
Well,
so
and
we
can
really
I
get
say
to know each
too,
other's heart.
I don't mean to interrupt, but so he had said, he's like, I'd love to like call you, like, would I be able to, da-da-da-da. And I was like, yeah, but I still didn't have much, like, just with history, have much faith in I thought, okay, probably go for a while and it'll fizzle. Yeah. But I mean, I remember that night, like a couple hours later, like he landed, like called me, and like we were on the phone for hours. Like I was really academic, and I had to take, because I didn't do early on, I had to take intro biology. I failed it because we were on the phone for like 4 or 5 hours every night. And like, I mean, I would hear that phone ring and I would race to it. Because the conversations, like, he knew my heart, my dreams, like, we learned each other's stories, and there was such an intimacy in that, because if we would have had the physical there, like, I would have been all over that. But luckily we didn't, and so when he came back, for Easter.
I came back for Easter, and Easter, I've never gotten a tattoo, but I've always wanted to, and then I've always wanted to put that date, because it's so significant in our life, of that Easter in 2010 was, like, we both knew that night. We both told each other. Like, I was just like, I'm going to marry you, and she's like, I feel exactly the same way. And so we got engaged. It took me, like, 4 months to earn the money to get a ring. So otherwise I would have proposed right away.
Good man. But he did me well.
And so we, and then, the rest is history.
Yeah.
So.
And I think honestly for us, like, how old were we when we got married?
23. We're 24 when we got married, but 23 when we started dating.
For me, like, my only wish is I wish I would have met him sooner.
Wow.
Like, I know a lot of people say, like, oh, you're young, da-da-da-da. Like, I loved, like, it's been the greatest gift of my lifetime to be able to, like, grow with him. Yeah. And to, like, so my only wish is I would have been younger. Yeah. And, so if you're young and if it's the one, like, go for it. If you're older and it's the one, go for it.
Oh my gosh.
But if it is not the one, you run for the hills.
Yeah. I'm going to be replaying this video because I'm learning so much. Oh my gosh. Well, if you guys loved this video and you loved Ashleigh and Skylar, Please give this video a thumbs up and comment down below because I would love to make these videos with you, and I will probably have you guys on my channel more often. We'll talk about different subjects and topics, but it was so much fun. I hope you guys have a great week. I'm looking forward to next week, and I love you so much.
That hair. Feel that juju. There you go, baby Ben. Oh, baby, he's naked.
What are you doing, Benny?
Before we get straight into
I want to know how many times you practiced that. Like, that is amazing. I mean, like, I just like need just a moment to like, wow.